Good afternoon and welcome to the webinar. It is approximately 1:02 p.m. Mountain Time and we'll begin Tribal Approaches to Small Dollar Lending. Thank you all for joining us. This has been a collaboration between First Nations Uista Corporation, National Congress of American Indians, and First Nations Development Institute. First Nations Uista Corporation's mission is to provide opportunities for Native peoples to develop financial assets and create wealth by assisting in establishment of strong, permanent institutions and programs contributing to economic independence and strengthening sovereignty for all Native communities. NCAI was established in 1944 in response to the termination and assimilation policies the U.S. government forced upon tribal governments in contradiction of their treaty rights and status as sovereign nations. To this day, protecting these inherent and legal rights remains the primary focus of NCAI. First Nations Development Institute's mission is to strengthen American Indian economies to support healthy Native communities. They invest in and create innovative institutions models that strengthen asset control and support economic development for American Indian people and their communities. So thank you all for joining us. I'd like to start the webinar out by having everyone utilize the question and answer feature of our webinar platform by answering the question, what organization are you representing today? And I know if you join us for multiple webinars, this question does get repetitive, but it gives us a sense of the type of organizations that are joining us and the reach we have across the nation. So I'll give just a few moments for you to locate that and type in the question and answer field. Okay, great. I see we have representation from Seneca, affiliate tribes of the Northwest, Meskwaki Nation, Columbia Bank, Nimipu. So thank you all for answering that. Next, I'd like to have Ian Record introduce our presenters.
Well, thank you, everybody. My name is Ian Record. I'm Director of the Partnership for Tribal Governance with the National Congress of American Indians, and the partnership leads up NCAI's financial capability and asset building work. This webinar is really about what tribal nations and Native organizations are doing in this arena of small dollar short-term lending, including how they're making affordable small dollar lending available to Native consumers, how they are regulating small dollar lending to protect Native consumers, and how they are educating Native consumers in order to help them protect and grow the financial assets they do have. I'm going to go ahead and introduce all three of our presenters today. All three of our presenters today, and then we'll be following up with Sarah from First Nations Development Institute, and then we'll have them proceed in order, and we'll then open it up for question and answer and discussion. First, I would like to introduce Cindy Logsdon, who serves as Assistant Director and CFO of the Citizen Potawatomi Community Development Corporation, or CPCDC, which is the Community Development Corporation for the Citizen Potawatomi Nation in Oklahoma. The CPCDC offers short-term, small-dollar, affordable loan services as well as credit counseling to tribal citizens, tribal employees, and members of other federally recognized tribes. Next, I would like to introduce Marshall Wright, who is a citizen of the Tunica-Biloxi tribe of Louisiana, who is here to share with us about the tribe's new Tribal Regulatory Commission for Consumer Lending, which is believed to be the first of its kind, or at the very least among the first of its kind in Indian country. And finally, I wish to introduce Angie Main, who is Executive Director of the Native American Community Development Corporation, which is involved with an emerging effort at the Blackfeet Nation in Montana to raise the financial awareness of Blackfeet citizens as the nation prepares to administer the Covell land buyback program. So thank you all for joining us, all three of you for taking time from your busy schedules to join us today, and we'll start with Cindy.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to share with you today. I'm Cindy Logsdon. I have been with the Citizen Potawatomi CDC since 2004. We were established in 2003 and became a CDFI in 2004. We started out with small business lending, and shortly after our organization formed, our vice chairman of our tribe approached us because she was seeing a problem with payday lenders garnishing employees' pay, and saw that there was a real, a problem and a need that was needed in our tribal community. And so in 2005, we launched our employee loan program. Currently, there's about 2,500 employees of the Citizen Potawatomi Nation. And we created this as an alternative to payday lending, and also it was a benefit to employees that worked for the tribe. Our tribal chairman not only wanted it to be for emergencies, but also saw that, if an employee hadn't been able to take their family on vacation, or they needed to buy an appliance, that this was a benefit to the employee as well. So we actually built in an education component with each loan closing. We have them doing a self-assessment through the application process. And also at loan closing, we review their credit score, we look at goal setting, we go over their credit and just say, this is what you're doing good, and this is what you could do better. We payroll deduct these loan payments directly from the payroll. We do credit report. We think it's important to establish an employee's credit score. We do subject these loans to tribal jurisdiction. They sign a waiver within our loan documents, or that they are subjecting to tribal jurisdiction, and if we had any dispute, that would actually be tried within tribal court. To date, we've closed about 3,500 loans at almost $4.9 million. So it's a highly revolving program. As the loan starts out at 16%, but as a employee's loan betters, as they can increase that score, and typically in the early days we were seeing the average a lot higher than it is today. We were seeing anywhere from an increase of 80 points to a credit score to 119. Now it's an average of 36 points on a yearly basis of increasing that score. Since then, we've actually added several other small dollar products, such as our credit builder loan. When we're credit counseling with someone, we actually have that as an alternative to getting those 2 lines of credit reporting. We have a Jumpstart Auto program, which actually was seen as a barrier to employees getting to work. And we've recently added a tornado shelter loan on the consumer side. We found that on the consumers, there is a need for credit. There's a lack of access. There could be income volatility a lot of times, especially like certain types of workers that work in our casinos and so forth. And we're really seeing a lack of savings. And so we feel like the education piece is very important to be hands-on. I've seen you're either a high-touch or you're high-tech usually in this line, and we are definitely high-touch. I don't know, last year we actually got the OFN Wells Fargo Next Award. And what we seek to do, that was a $100,000 award, but what we sought to do with that is replicate this program. We, at the Employee Loan Program, we have found that to be a bit challenging, even with tribes that we already have relationships with. When we see a tribal government turnover every 2 years, you know, we just get the relationship built, get the government on board, and then we see, you know, there, a lot of times there is government upheaval. So have found that to be a little bit challenging to replicate that program. But we are still trudging along, and we feel that this is very important to offer this type of education and alternative to Native Americans within our state. Also, we are participating with OFN with the pilot employer-based consumer knowledge network. That we're probably about in our 8th month on that. And basically, it's just bringing basically organizations together that are offering a payday lending payday alternative. And what we have found that we don't all look alike, and so it's hard to come up with best practices. A lot of those employer-based are technology-based, where you apply online. The credit counseling isn't required, and so forth. And so we have heard a lot of interesting data, but feel like, you know, it being employer-based, that employers are the key to financial health. We all know that within an employee setting, a lot of times that if an employee is having trouble financially, they're spending, you know, more time away from doing their work and working on their financial matters. So basically, I think that's kind of an overview of our product. And, you know, we are actually incorporated under, as a tribal nonprofit under the Citizen Potawatomi Nation, so we fall under the tribe's UCC code. So we can actually file, if we were to take collateral and so forth, we could actually file in our tribal court. But that's pretty much an overview, you know, of our small dollar loan.
Thank you, Marshall.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, first of all, I want to thank y'all for hosting this session. My name is Marshall Parade. I'm the former chairman of the Tunica Biloxi Tribe of Louisiana and the current chairman of the board of our Lending Operations Mobile Loans, LLC. We have a line of credit, an online lending business, which consists of a line of credit that is owned by the Tunica Biloxi Tribe. Our tribe decided to enter into the business within about 6 years ago, and we did so to diversify our economy, to bring jobs to the reservation, and provide government services to our people. One of the things we like to make sure that everyone knows that our product is not a typical payday loan, but rather a line of credit with published set rates for the initial cash advance and then a fixed finance charge for each billing cycle where there is an unpaid balance. Once we started this six and a half years ago, I can tell you I was very opposed about the tribe getting into this business because I viewed it as predatory lending, and I really didn't like the concept. And I can tell you it bothered me very much that our tribe was entering into the business until one night I had a dream, and in the dream I was told, if you do not like something, don't sit on the sidelines and complain about it. get involved and change it. And that's one of the things I am very proud to say that Tunica Biloxi Tribe has been taking the leadership in changing the industry in the way lending is being done. We all know there's abusive players in this industry, and we do indeed take advantage of indeed take advantage of the consumers. But regardless of the bad actors, and hello, yes, but okay, I'm sorry. Regardless of the bad actors and the patchwork of regulations currently in the place, there's going to always be a demand for short-term loans. It will never diminish. And as you can see, a large portion of America are living paycheck to paycheck. And no law or regulations can change this. And instead, the regulatory structure must ensure access to short-term capital that exists in a manner that is understandable and fair to the consumers who need it. This is where any country, I think and believe, that can be a natural ally to the regulators and to the consumer protection community. One of the things Tunica Biloxi is looking at is to rid this country of predatory lending. We offer a lot of things to our consumers, I think, that greatly benefit them through financial literacy, financial management, credit restoration, and most importantly, out of that never-ending debt cycle by transferring or transitioning our customers to traditional banking. One of our main objectives is to making sure that our consumers are better off when they exit our product than when they enter our product. We want to make sure that we put them in a place where within 2.5 years, no matter what their credit score look like, we can get them credit worthy within 2.5 years, where they no longer need our product or any other payday lending product. And they just do their banking needs with traditional banking. And one of the reasons why is the tribes take this hard stance, because we realize that it needs safe products, fair and simple products that the consumers can understand. And we also realize that tribes are not corporations. We've been tribes for hundreds and in some cases thousands of years, and we're going to be tribes for the next thousands of years. So we cannot change at a drop of a hat as corporation does. And with that in mind, we had took the initiative to develop and support a regulatory system that respects our unique attributes and the sovereignty of tribal government. Our vision for the future regulatory structure of this industry is to build a system similar to tribal gaming where tribes are responsible regulators alongside our federal partners at the CFPB. And like gaming, lending is an industry that by its nature, we realize it must be highly regulated. In March of this year, or April of this year, Tunica Biloxi has given life to this vision, where we launch a new consumer lending regulatory commission to oversee tribal consumer lending, not only our tribal lending product, but other tribes as well. We have a stellar board of 3 commissioners with extensive legal and regulatory experience. These 3 commissioners include Terry Goddard, former Attorney General of Arizona and former Mayor of Phoenix; Brennan Johnson, former U.S. Attorney for South Dakota; and Tracy Stevens, former Chairwoman of the National Indian Gaming Commission. This commission was established as an independent arm of the tribe, which report directly to our tribal chairman. And they are charged with enforcement of the Tunica Biloxi Fairness and Lending Code. This lending code is a robust set of regulations that requires any tribal lending entity to be licensed by the tribe and to strictly adhere to all tribal and federal consumer financial laws. We hope and pray that the new commission will serve as an example for other tribes on how to have a path forward to begin active participants in consumer protection, and we hope all others in Indian country will follow as well. As the Regulatory Commission is taking its initial steps to be fully operational, our tribe is working hard to ensure full compliance, as well as developing better financial products that provide real alternatives to the consumer that will ultimately transfer them out of short-term lending altogether. We envision this as a great expansion of consumer-friendly financial products in the next few years. I hope and pray that Indian country can and should be a leader in this consumer-focused expansion. We truly believe that the definition of a leader is someone that inspires others to do more, to learn more, and to become more. And Indian country is strongest when we work on our principles, when we need to focus not on simply developing lending policies, but also building our principles in this business. And in this business, we should have cooperation, collaboration, and compassion for our consumers. And one of the things we always remember that protecting consumers is all of our jobs. Thank you.
Thank you, Marshall, very much. Next up, we have Angie. Angie, are you on the line?
Yes, I think so.
There you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me share with you this unique campaign that we have going right now on the Blackfeet Reservation. Again, my name is Angie Main. I'm the Executive Director for Native American Community Development Corporation, which was established in 2000 by Eloise Cabell. And in 2010, we established a Native CDFI to complement the training and technical assistance that we had already been providing. And so with our Native CDFI, now we have credit builder loans, consumer loans, small business loans, and a Native artist line of credit. And also we're still providing training and technical assistance for small business, financial literacy and credit management, the native arts, native artists, and also farm and ranch training. And so with that, I don't know if you are aware of the land buyback program, but just as a little background, the land buyback program is the land consolidation component of the Cabell settlement, which provided $1.9 billion to purchase fractional interest in trust or restricted land from sellers on the reservation at fair market value. These interests are going to be restored to the tribe for the tribal trust ownership and to use to benefit the reservation and the tribal members. And we got involved with this program because in late November of this year, the Blackfeet tribal members, 7,000 tribal members will become available and be offered to buy their fractionated land, and there's $1.3 million available. And so, with this sudden money, we started following the Blackfeet land buyback program around to their outreach meetings on each of the 6 communities on the reservation. And so we signed up. We were signing up individuals who are interested in that when their money finally comes through, that they'll be able to do wise investing. And so we were helping them to do with budgets and how to become more bankable. And so with this, the Blackfeet Land Buyback Program and us were contacted by the Federal Reserve Bank, Sue Woodrow, and the Minneapolis Center for Indian Country Development in the Helena branch in Mohair, Montana. And so they asked us, what we were doing as far as, helping the individuals that were going to be receiving these payments as far as, financial literacy. And so we, kind of told them what we were doing. So as a result of that, there was a large amount of other organizations that came together because we realized that, financial literacy wasn't going to be, the only answer to this sudden money that comes into the community. So we developed 8 core messages for this campaign that we're going to address, and one of them was falling victim to financial fraud, scams, and predatory sellers of goods, because there's when this money comes out, the reservations are inundated with car dealerships, furniture dealers, and cell phone carriers that come in and try to sell, to the tribal members. And also, we're going to address how to prevent elder financial abuse, because the elders are oftentimes victims of their family, where they receive social pressure to cash these checks and also to distribute the money amongst family members. And so we want to make the elders aware of better ways of investing and how to we can address this. And also we identified how to purchase a home, or how to expand a business or an agricultural operation, and then how to become financially savvy and money ready. And this is just the importance of about the cost of debt, low credit scores, and the importance of managing this debt, and also learning how to budget, save, and invest more wisely. And then another message is how to become banked. And with this, we're gathering together bankers, and actually having a lot of the banks who are involved with this, who are partners with us, to come into the community to actually set up booths and sign people up for savings or bank accounts, because a lot of these individuals are unbanked. And then another message is to understand the impact of these land buyback payments on your lease income and public benefits, because after this land is sold, you'll be no longer receiving the lease income that many people have relied on. And also public benefits is going to affect their public benefits too, so we need to make them aware of this. And then the last one is just our focus on youth and how to have how to cultivate financially savvy youth, and maybe and also we're going to be using these youth to help us with this campaign as far as developing PSAs through the local radio stations, and because we think that the youth can really connect better with their families. And so I guess this kind of are some of our our partners, and we have a large amount of partners. Of course, the Blackfeet Land Buyback Office and the Blackfeet Manpower, Wells Fargo Bank, Blackfeet Land Department, Native American Bank, Native American Development Corporation, First Interstate Bank, and also the Montana Financial Education Coalition. But we hope to make this a demonstration program so that the 60 other reservation communities that will be receiving these payments, that this can be a model for them to help them to really have their communities have information on financial and the predatory practices, and then and also giving them, other opportunities and resources that are available to them so that they can take advantage and really use these programs to invest their money wisely. So with that, I think that I think I highlighted actually we're calling it the Cunny Money demonstration campaign, and we hope to make the community. We plan to inundate the community with information on investing wisely with this sudden money. So with that, thank you, and I'll answer any questions.
Well, thank you very much, Angie. It sounds like an exciting initiative you've got underway there. And next I wanted to turn it over to Sarah Deweese with the First Nations Development Institute, or FNDI. And Sarah's going to briefly share a little bit about FNDI's research around consumer protection. Sarah?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Ian. And thank you to all of our presenters. It was really, really interesting hearing about all the different programs going on, most of which are guided by Native nations. And it's really exciting to see so many, I think, new and innovative programs serving tribal citizens. And actually, Stephanie, did you want to stop and ask her questions at this point, or did you want me to go ahead and just start my presentation? Is Stephanie on the line?
Yep. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to use that question and answer feature on the webinar platform. I think we might have you present, Sarah, and then take questions for all the panelists and you as well at the end. But if anyone has any questions throughout, please feel free to type them in that platform. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, so I actually just wanted to start this discussion with acknowledging what many of the presenters already said, which is that there is a need for small dollar loans and for access to credit. The recent National Financial Capability Study that was produced by the FINRA Investor Education Foundation found that actually 52% of all Americans have trouble covering their expenses and paying their bills. And only 31% are really, satisfied with their personal financial situation. 69% are dissatisfied. So there are a lot of challenges out there. That same research study found relatively low levels of financial knowledge and financial ability. So it's an ongoing challenge. So I really applaud organizations like Citizen Potawatomi Nation in designing programs that provide responsible access to credit, and also, sort of build in that financial education. And what's going on in Blackfeet is very exciting too. So next slide, please. And so what, we at First Nations have been looking at, and the National Financial Capability Study also looked at, is unfortunately there's a challenge where sometimes to meet the needs of individuals who are seeking access to credit, sometimes they get they may access financial tools or products that do not necessarily improve their financial well-being. And we were very interested, I want to say, oh wow, 5 years ago. I was going to say 3 years ago. So several years ago, we looked into what Native nations are doing to sort of, with regulation to protect their tribal citizens. And this sounds similar to what Tunica Biloxi is doing with their commission. So we took some time to conduct research at the Native American Rights Fund Law Library and try to understand, which Native nations actually have consumer protection codes in place. And it turns out there actually were quite a few at the time, but there's still a great deal of work to do. And so I'll talk about that in the next slide. But so, I think that what Citizen Potawatomi is doing is actually responding to the sort of need for credit, but there's this, kind of flip side of regulating the type of credit that is available for tribal citizens. So it's all covered in this report, Building Trust, which is downloadable on our website. I believe Stephanie is also going to send out a link to that report. But next slide, please, at this point. So what we found was that actually there were quite a few tribes that had at least elements of their tribal code that addressed issues of what you may call predatory lending, you may call, problematic financial services, or just consumer, general consumer protection. So you see here the Rosebud Sioux tribe has a couple of chapters dedicated to, door-to-door transactions. Oglala Sioux actually had a aspect of their code looking at things like repossession, but also, hopefully avoiding fraudulent sale of items. Now, Navajo Nation is a unique case. They actually have the Navajo Nation Human Rights Commission, which is actually very active in researching, investigating, documenting, and sometimes litigating about economic abuses, mostly in the border towns around the Navajo Nation. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But next slide, please. So what's interesting is that, at least on the books, the Blackfeet Nation had a very progressive code that actually provided a lending rate cap. My understanding is that that's actually not currently still in place, but certainly the effort behind it, I think, was really well thought out. And there's certainly some interesting questions there about how do you actually enforce that type of rate cap on the reservation. But you'll see that here are some examples of just a few other Native nations that have taken progressive action to sort of regulate the access to financial services on the reservation. So next slide, please. And so we decided after conducting this research that although it's really heartening to see so many tribes, that there's a few more tribes that we talk about in the report that are actually taking action to protect consumers on their lands, there was still an opportunity for many more tribes to adopt consumer protections. And we actually ended up working with Dene Legal Services, and we worked with an individual there who actually was the former Attorney General for Navajo Nation, so he was quite knowledgeable. And he and his team pulled together actually 10 model tribal code sections addressing really a broad range of topics, including fair debt collection practices, privacy protections, rental purchase agreements, things like that. And we have actually made these codes available for free on our website. They're downloadable, and they're Word documents, and so we certainly encourage tribal attorneys or any individuals who are interested in looking into consumer protections on Indian lands to download those and take a look at it. And again, you see a link there to that tribal code. And I think Stephanie is also going to send a link in an email after this webinar. So I think there's one more slide, Stephanie. Oh, no, that was it. But so anyways, I do think this webinar has been great in terms of really going over the broad landscape of programs that are available to tribes to meet the needs of their citizens as they kind of seek out access to credit, access to financial services, maybe deal with, windfall of payment from the land buyback program. And there are many different approaches. There's providing access to responsible credit, there's providing innovative financial education, and then there's also, forms of regulation. So at this point, I'll turn it over to you, Stephanie, and we can see if there's any questions.
Okay, great. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to use the raise your hand feature, and I will unmute your line. And if you, I see some questions popping up already, and feel free to please use the question and answer chat box feature on the webinar platform if you'd like me to read the questions. So the first question is to Cindy. What is your maximum loan amount for employee loans? Do you take security for any of your consumer loans?
Our maximum loan on the employee loan program is $2,000. It is based on the length of employment that you've been with the nation and your good standing with employment. So whenever an application is placed, we actually send a verification over to HR. They will get a verification with the supervisor, and it's totally confidential, And, you know, they can't be on probation, they can't be leaving on FMLA, those types of things. And so that particular loan is a signature loan backed by the good standing of your employment. So, you know, credit is not an issue. We will counsel with you. We will educate, you know, if you're in a predatory situation, you know, counsel with you to maybe get out of that situation and so forth. Our vehicle loans are secured. Our credit builder loans are secured. And so basically our credit builder loan, the loan amount is held in trust, is held in an escrow account for your benefit as you're saving, and that could be $200. And just so we try to get a year reporting, so you have that on your credit report, and then you get those funds in the tail end. So that's, but that is considered, you know, cash backed.
Okay, great. Another question we have is it possible to use accrued vacation as collateral for employee loans? Is anyone doing this?
We aren't. This is Cindy, and that's pretty innovative. But no, I haven't heard of a situation like that.
Okay, great. I have a question posed to all of the panelists or anyone that would like to answer. How do you address predatory lending on the reservation? Do you do anything beyond education to tribal members, if there is anything you can do, or what barriers have you encountered?
This is Angie. On the Blackfeet Reservation, they have the Blackfeet Revenue Department that that when they hear of any predatory practices going on, they'll go, you know, they'll go meet with these people, and then actually just probably just run them off the road. But with this demonstration, this campaign that we have coming up, one of the things that we're doing is not only on the reservation, but we're going to each one of the bordering towns, their chambers of commerce, to meet with them, to, you know, alert them to the fact that, yeah, this money will be coming out, and also that, you know, some of the, especially car dealers, you know, will be popping up, and of course they're not allowed to do that on the reservation, but in other Indian communities in Montana that have received this land buyback money, they've gone and set up on border town, and so we're hoping that, you know, we can work with the chambers of commerce that like in Cut Bank to help to so that they can help us with controlling that. So.
And this is Marshall. We help our tribal members by providing financial literacy to them, and as well as partner them with local banks to get them away from the brick and mortar payday loans or the or any type of other predatory lending out there.
This is Cindy. Currently, with our next award, I didn't mention this earlier, through that funding, we are working on a public service announcement. And the public service announcement is directed at predatory lending. It's hopefully, you know, it's not stand with Citizen Potawatomi CDC. It's where anybody or any, you know, tribal group or anybody could basically use this PSA. You know, it might go YouTube, it may be Facebook, it may be however we can get the word out. But basically, the message we would like to get across is we have found that people that use predatory lenders don't realize that they're even using a predatory lender, and that they think that's their best friend. You know, there's this relationship. Oh, they walk in the door, and oh, they know them by name. And so this PSA is hopefully going to be used as the light bulb moment, like, oh my goodness, I'm using one of those lenders. I'm being charged 300% interest. So that's one thing that we're working on, and I think just the message of, you know, and also to have alternatives. So there's a place for these predatory lenders because it's easy money. And so with that message, we would like to come up with, you know, a database of, you know, these are the alternatives. This is a affordable alternative to going to the predatory lenders. So hopefully, I don't know, this message is something that we all can use, no matter if we're, you know, wherever we're located geographically.
Awesome. That sounds great, Cindy, and thank you for the panelists for answering. We have one question for Marshall. What type of outreach is the TB Regulatory Agency doing to help other tribes develop their own agency? Are there plans for a national tribal lending regulatory agency similar to the National Indian Gaming Commission?
Yes, that's what was our thoughts behind standing up the regulatory commission, that they would act as the National Lending Commission, not only for our tribe, but for all tribes. And as far as outreach, they're working diligently with consumer advocacy groups, faith leaders, because a lot of the leaders see the faith leaders see the issue with predatory lending up close with their parishioners or members or people within their community.
Awesome, thank you. Does anyone have any more questions? I'll leave it open for just a few moments for anyone to type in their question or raise their hand. I'll also open it up at this time if any of the panelists have any last comments you'd like to address to the audience.
Sorry.
Well,
can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I was just going to ask, just for future reference, if anyone comes across any other Tunica Biloxi and Citizen Potawatomi type examples, Blackfeet type examples, please feel free to contact me, contact Stephanie, contact Sarah. This is an ongoing process that we're engaged in to try to document what tribes are doing in this area, and we're looking to catalog as many different examples as we can.
Well, thank you, Ian. And with that, I think if anyone has any questions at the end of the webinar, any burning questions, I will be sending a follow-up email containing a large number of resources for everyone. And please feel free to reach out to the panelists or, like Ian said, myself, Sarah, or Ian. And as always, please like everyone on Facebook, Twitter, or any social media outlet. That's how we get out the news about our upcoming webinars. And I want to say thank you to all of our participants and panelists and presenters today. Thank you so much. This was a collaboration between NCAI, First Nations Louisa Corporation, and First Nations Development Institute. So I really appreciate the partnerships out in the community. If anyone else has any future recommendations for webinars, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to accommodate. And as always, have a wonderful week. Thank you.